screen.
My goodness.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, perfect. So shall I mute the Discord instead?
No, it should now be fine. Let's see. Oh, I see what happens. Echo. Yeah. If you talk, do you have echo as well?
No, I can just hear. It's fine for me, to be honest. I can hear you guys okay.
Yes.
Shall I just mute the Discord for me? Or maybe that's a pain.
No, then we do not hear you. But I think it's fine now, I believe.
Okay.
Let's do a poll. Mohammed, can you hear us in a normal manner?
Yes, I can hear you fine. Both of you without echo.
Nice.
Smashing.
Right, and I believe the sound is now also
Superb.
YouTube. So the person looking on YouTube, just following the stream, will be set for live. Very good. So take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Arjun. So the map scan is completed, and what do we see? We see it's a Windows machine. It's got WinRM, so port 49. I can't even read. 5985. So that's the Windows Remote Management. So that's potentially interesting for us. We've also got port 8080, which is usually associated with web. And we see here an interesting description of Windows Device Portal. So let's just check that out quickly. Okay, so yeah, it's basic authentication. So we need to get credentials for that. What else can we do? Windows. What did that message say? Windows Device Portal. Let's search for that. Oh, yeah. I'm sure I just agreed to signing my life away, but that's okay. So Windows Device Portal, we see it's associated with Windows IoT. Okay, so let's see default credentials, see if that works. So the interesting thing, right, is that in all current IoT, Windows IoT images currently offered by Microsoft, the default password of password is set for the administrator account, and as we'll see later on, there are many things by default which are very very bad on Windows IoT. So this is the first one. Let's try this though. Maybe the sysadmins haven't changed the password. If they haven't, then we're in luck. So, oh. I apologize for the small size of the authentication screen. There's no way it seems to change that. But yeah, let's put in the default password. Okay, that doesn't work. So basically, it's been changed, right? But I'm not entirely sure how prevalent Windows IoT is in the marketplace. I assume most things use, Raspberry Pi or something like that. But Windows IoT is offered for free, and it is out there. But yeah, I'd have to use Showdown or something like that to actually see how prevalent it is. Maybe in a break, someone with more knowledge and information would be able to kind of share some stats on how widely it's used and stuff like that. But okay, so what can we do next? Well, something else we can try is, let's see, are there any kind of known remote code execution vulnerabilities with Windows IoT? And kind of like the first hit we see is this repo here. So let's check it out. Okay, so there's actually a really interesting white paper here. If you want to read it, I definitely recommend it. it provides a lot more detail on it, and how they reported it to Microsoft, and Microsoft still hasn't fixed the vulnerability since it's been reported. So all current images also offered by Microsoft for Windows 10 IoT currently still have a remote code execution as system vulnerability. So that's pretty bad news. Okay, so it kind of shows us some commands that we can execute on this as well. So without further ado, let's clone the repo. So actually, let's just do. That's not the one I wanted. All right, let's not do the download upload. Let's just see if we can communicate with the device using this tool first here. So of course we should always check the script first before running it to actually see what it's doing and stuff like that. Make sure there's nothing nasty that it's actually doing. But we've checked this before and it seems fine. And we need the IP address as well, don't we? So let's try that. And that worked. You may get an error here at this point, and that's maybe because one of the requirements hasn't been installed, so it's hex dump. You can just install that using pip. So yeah, that seemed to work. We got some information from the device, and so this is essentially a vulnerability in one of the protocols implemented in Windows 10 IoT. Further information in the white paper, and yeah, the slides are there. And so yeah, let's try. So now we've actually proven the tool's working, and we can get information from the device. Let's see if we can run the command. There we go. So interestingly, if we want to run a command, we can use this. We can use this line here, this command here, and then. So let's just copy that. Okay, and so it has echo user profile. Now I'm assuming, and indeed that is the case, but that's because the who am I command isn't available, and so the user profile, doing echo user profile is another way of basically saying who you are, what user you are. So let's run that. Okay, and it says we are the default account. So, okay, interesting. Normally at this point, you might want to run something like who are my priv or who are my groups, or just to see how privileged this user is. But what we can also do is, it says here we can remove this flag.
Okay, it's midden.
We can execute as system. So let's check that out. So hopefully we'll see the system profile this time. Yeah, which we do. So, right, we basically validated the remote code, the remote command execution as system. And yeah, this is affecting all Windows IoT images currently.
Ja, ik ben hem nog, wacht even, even hem uitzetten, want ik snap het.
Currently available for download by Microsoft. Okay, so let's try to get, I don't know, something like an Nmap, so like a netcat reverse shell or something. So it's okay. And what's our current IP? .3. Okay, so let's do a PowerShell download. Args. Whoops. See, invoke web request. So you can use like invoke web request as the full verb, or you can use the aliases such as IWR or wget or curl. They all mean the same thing. Invoke web request 14.3 netcat.exe, and let's save that to Windows temp netcat.exe. So we should hopefully get a hit on the web server, which we do, and the result is 0, so that's successful. So next thing, let's try and execute that. I suppose I could still use PowerShell, but let's go back to using command. 10, 14, 3. Okay, let's kill that and stand up our listener and try executing that. All right, so unfortunately it says this version of netcat is not comp. So we assume it's not compatible with the target system. So that's, if we do, oh, so we might need the 64-bit version. So let's, we can use this link here actually. So let's quickly download that, unzip it. That is, yeah, my brain just froze for a minute there. So.
Happens to me all the time.
Thanks.
Whenever you feel it's a good people to catch up, free to.
Yeah, absolutely. So how would now be a good time if we can kind of look to get a foothold in the next little bit. I'm open to whatever you guys think. So if you'd like to have a break now, Arjen, if you think that would be good, we can. I'm happy to do that.
I think if we can put that link to the netcat 64-bit
yes.
to the chat, I think it's a good point for people to actually try and get to this step.
Yeah, good
I
shout.
guess there's two links. You have a white team now.
Oh, guys. Oh,
Perhaps the link to the syrup rat, which
yes. Yes.
is the need for the first one.
Yes, let me.
Now we can have people give it a try and see how they like or the steps that they get to this part.
Yeah, absolutely. I apologize for my white mode or light mode. I know this is a course of. I get a lot of stick about this.
Yeah, I personally do not like the light mode because
Yeah.
I guess it's more of a lighting thing in my room. I guess the lighting on my room is too bad
Yeah.
for the contrast. So
Could I ask you a question or not?
And it depends. Did you pay €10?
No.
No, yeah.
Just 5.
Yeah. Of course, you can ask questions.
How did you come to the conclusion to use this tool?
The rat.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if we go back to whoops. Maybe if it was all in dark mode, I'd see my screens better, right? So what we kind of did was we just literally did a Google for Windows 10 IoT remote RCE, and that was like the first hit we saw.
Okay. Thanks.
No worries.
Anybody else have questions? Any question? Except for why do you have white marks?
You can.
I think that's a touchy subject, so we'll not hit that. But,
I do have a question, if that's possible.
Always go ahead.
For you, Ian.
Yes, of
how
course.
do you or where do you get the inspiration to say like, okay, I'm gonna create a box and I'm gonna work with those vulnerabilities?
Interesting question. So there are heaps of ways to approach this, right? It could just be that we need an easy machine, and so I think, okay, let's create an easy machine, or maybe we want to have a bit more variety on the platform in terms of Windows is great, Linux is awesome, but there's more to it than that, and so there's some fun research we can do in lots of different things. And so Windows 10 IoT just really attracted me. The installation is kind of a bit tricky though, but yeah.
Yeah, I think you gave it away in the other meeting where you were, that you were looking in IoT.
So, did I? Drats.
Yeah, it was just before this box was released.
Oh, God.
You didn't give it all away, but you were talking about it, that you're also looking into new technologies and
yeah. This is definitely a part of what we want to do.
It's a free hint.
Yeah. No, in Hack the Box, we definitely look to. Yeah, sorry.
Did you actually try running Windows 10 IoT on like actual hardware, or just in the VM?
I never actually tried it on actual hardware, just in the VM, but it was tricky. It was fairly tricky trying to get it to work. There's a few different procedures out there, but it really, it's a bit finicky. Yeah.
Yeah, from what I've seen, it's a really pretty weird image.
Yeah.
What I did is just I tried it when I was working on this box. I just enabled it on my Windows 10 VM, and it just worked, and I could mimic the exploit.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah,
that's really.
Yeah, that's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Not to be or something, but you said and stuff. See how many devices there are. So I did what anybody would do. I would show them. I typed in Windows device portal, and there's currently 234 Windows device portals available on the internet.
Is that all?
Oh, I mean, that's all. That's quite a lot.
In Shodan.
In Shodan, and if I
Yeah.
look for Windows IoT, I get
Yeah, and Shodan really only shows like the last couple of things it found.
22. It depends on your account, I guess, because if you're a student, you can get a academic account and scroll back through everything that it has.
That's really interesting. I didn't realize it was so. Yeah, I thought it was a bit more prominent than that, to be honest. But that's kind of a good thing then.
Well, these are also Windows device portals directly connected to the internet, right?
Oh
Yeah,
my goodness.
You shouldn't open up Windows 10 IoT. Like it's supposed to be in your home network. So these are all port forwarded, or at least the portal is.
To be honest, I think the adoption rate of Windows IoT is not so high.
It's
yet.
not so high.
It's
Yeah.
very limited. It's very crappy. So
That's how
Yeah. It's very exploitable.
The portal did look good, but
Yeah. Yeah.
aside from that, it has a cool web UI.
Yeah, that's right. It does. It really does. That's kind of one of the reasons I wanted to showcase it. Really is that. And IoT generally is becoming a lot more interesting and prevalent, but maybe not this particular image.
For us hackers, it sure is getting interesting.
Yeah, for sure. For
There's
sure.
almost no IP webcams that don't have an exploiter too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really fun. I kind of over the Christmas period, I want to do a project for like an IoT project. So it'd be fun. Just a personal one for my own interest.
yeah, okay.
It's yeah, but it's quite interesting. So yeah, it is 234 instances of the string Windows device portal, of which there's a lot of forwarding. There's only 100 that are on port 8080, and the rest is at some other port, A443. So that's the higher cell-based one. So they at least try to be somewhat safe.
Yeah.
8081, 81L, stuff like that. So people have lots of interesting machines running.
Yeah. And I wonder how.
By obscurity.
Yeah, exactly. So, Owen, I wonder how many of those are using the default password of password.
I think most.
Yeah.
20%. I think if you right now go ahead and try like brute forcing them with like the default passwords, I think you won't notice too many being vulnerable to that. But that's just because they already got hacked and people changed the passwords.
The hackers kind of wanted to
they're like
lock everyone else out.
crawling Shodan, and they try default passwords, and as soon as it works,
Yeah.
they switch to a different password,
Yeah.
and then they start mining.
Well, that's quite interesting. I guess that's a exploration for somebody to do at one point, I guess.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
There's no need to ask for asking a question where you can just, hey, let me ask you this, right? So
thanks. Yeah. Just because when you run Nmap and I think you start googling to learn about this exploit or the tool, but I just wonder if like there is a way. It's like some Nmap script that will basically point to this, that this is a port, that it could be like an which system or which application is running on this port. And then the other also question, I'm not sure if if you don't understand the question, then I can just
Well, in a way, Nmap already says what services probably are running on a port,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
Okay.
That's the
I guess
That's
it's yeah. What Richard is saying is that if we look at the Nmap, the first one grabs the
Yeah.
number of ports that are open,
Yeah.
and then the second command runs something called default scripts and service version numbers. So the -s capital C and -s capital V, they actually run all scripts that Nmap currently knows about and considers safe-ish to identify services. So it's in this instance, it found a HTTP server, and then it decided to grab the first part of the header to show what is actually running there.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, Ian, would it actually say that when you run the -o, the print part of the Nmap scan?
Sorry, I didn't catch that. My audio just slightly cut out.
Oh, that's because you chose to run it with default scripts and service versioning.
Yep.
If you would run it with OS fingerprinting Nmap, would it then determine that it's a Windows IoT device?
Interesting. Yeah, possibly it would.
I think not. It should.
No.
It should do. No, then it needs to do it on the header
Mhm.
alone, because a lot of times 8080 is also like proxy service, right?
Yeah.
Even though it's yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it can decide between Windows 10 and Windows 10 IoT just from the
No.
But it does say it's Windows successfully.
And the Realm says it's device portal. I mean, it even says it's IIS, and which it isn't.
It's not.
It's guessing IIS.
Yeah, exactly.
Nmap really wasn't built to do this. Or I mean, it's built to do it, but it's probably not that common to scan Windows 10 IoT with it.
Okay.
I'm just going
I
to.
was just wondering if there is there is a GitHub repository with Nmap scripts that has different scripts that does like different specific discovery of if there is an idea to write such a script for this for IoT or if there is already one that does a recon for it.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point, actually. So you see UPnPs running. I think probably there are some UPnP scripts already, maybe, for Nmap. Let's see.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at the Nmap NSE scripts, but
So
Yeah, there are a lot of repositories just extending the base scripts from Nmap.
yeah.
So maybe you could find a script that successfully identifies something being specifically IoT. There are even scripts that try a couple of vulnerabilities and stuff.
Yeah.
This is it's a safe script. So yeah, I don't know why it didn't return that output. To check.
Nmap can work in mysterious ways.
I have an Nmap scan, and it identified the web Windows device portal with a nicto directly after it. It's like a script, and it's running Nmap, and based on that port, it's doing nicto, GoBusters, this kind of stuff.
It's
Clever.
that's nice to automate. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I like scripts that
I will
run
share
Nmap
it.
in stages. Like run Nmap on the base ports first, then run all ports, then do scripts, and then do UPnP, and then do scripts on that.
Yeah. So
So,
like
yeah.
chaining scripts.
Yeah, so like at first, like in the first 30 seconds, you get all the ports, so you can try enumerating some stuff
Yeah.
yourself, and then you can alt tab back to an map and you see what else it has done in the meantime.
I'm
Instead
too
of
old
doing multiple
school.
ports.
I'm too old school for that. I just do it all by hand.
I don't use it. I just know the script
I think
exists.
it's on
People have made beautiful
I've heard it's
things.
cool. It's good when you're playing against time
Yeah.
on blood or
I
something.
guess in battlegrounds that would be.
Yeah. True.
People use it in OSCP exams as well.
There is load.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm.
Maybe let's see. Most people, it's been about 10-15 minutes.
Yeah.
Maybe we can take the next couple of steps.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So unless anybody is wait for me.
Well, wait for me. I got a little note thingy.
Okay.
Sure thing.
For the people who would like to have VIP access or swag, don't forget to vote. If you would like to join the giveaway.
Can I vote twice?
Words are really hard. You can
You can vote once, but you can vote once for everything, right?
exactly. You can find them in the pinned messages.
I'm gonna create some dummy accounts so I can vote more.
Good one.
Yeah, but if your dummy account wins, you still lose, right?
Yeah. No, I won't.
I'll be back in a minute, guys.
That's okay. Oh. Coffee break. That's interesting. And that was the end of our test. So the giveaway to get back to that, we have some swag cards, which are very nice. But there's also one VIP thing up for grabs, which is actually a 3-month VIP thing. So that's quite nice. If you don't have VIP, you should give that a try. And of course, any and pronunciation of the winner is fully up to Phil the Cookie, and whatever C says is final. Anybody want to place a bet as to what Ian is currently doing? Nobody? Yeah, I was thinking the beer route as well. But as he said, like he said it with a kind of urgency, so maybe it is just
Toilet.
toilet break.
Opening the door.
Beer is pretty urgent. I'm not gonna lie.
Maybe he's changing all his teams to a dark team and some other discipline.
I hope.
It could also be his.
Maybe he's figuring out what Excel sheets he can safely close.
Let's see. I think Gerben is doing the beer team.
I have a delirium.
A delirium.
That's what this beer is called. It's a
Nice.
strong dark beer with a pink elephant on it.
Nice.
Triple fermentation.
Do you like to actually? Oh, Ian is back.
Hey.
Yeah. So we were talking beer run or a toilet run.
Yeah, it was just a quick loo break.
Yeah, very well, very well. Well, all right. So I will add you back to the live stream team.
Okay, perfect.
And then we can. Then people can follow it again. Your sound is. So I will shut up and back to you.
All right, cheers, man. So we tried to run Netcat, right? Yes, that's right. We tried to run Netcat, and it was the wrong version. So let's go. stand up a server again. No, that's not right. There we go. Okay, so let's. Okay, so let's try that this time. N64 version. Check the web server. We got a hit. Cool. So let's try that again. And yeah, we got a shell. So yeah, so we're running a system. Okay, so we noticed that when it reported that, it's under C data. So let's check out C data, which is just like a really weird location. Normal Windows 10 is, of course, all Windows is under users. So what do we have here? We have app administrator. Default account is the one that we exploited the vulnerability with if we just did it as the logged in user. So let's go into administrator. And see, that's actually a PowerShell credential. So the reason that's done is because with the box running, like, it's an auto shell as system, right? And so the reason the root.txt is actually as a PowerShell credential is just to guard against any sort of remote command execution as system, just to make it a bit more interesting, because otherwise it's literally get a shell and you're in the box, which doesn't really teach that much. So that's a PowerShell credential. So in order to do that, we'd need to be like administrator, but so let's also check this user here. So it's got one called hardening, user.txt, also a PowerShell credential for the same reason. We try and have a look at hardening, and we're denied access to that. Okay, and then finally, let's have a look at this file here. And that's another PowerShell credential. So presumably we can, yeah, see that's running as Omni administrator. So the app user has a PowerShell credential for the administrator. Okay. So at this point, we need the password or like the hash or something for the app user. So what we could actually do is set up a file share on our box here. So we do okay, smb.conf, and then we can set up a file share as in this, right? So here's one I've just set up in home public. It's writable, and I've made the directory also writable for everybody. So we could actually leverage the vulnerability to do that for us as well. So here's some commands from actually the official write-up. So it really helps if I'm in the right folder. Okay, let's try that again. All right, so that is saving the system hive. All right, we have system rights on the server, so we should be able to do that. That completed successfully. Let's also do the same for the SAM. Okay, that was successful as well. And then let's transfer them both back to our box here. And so this kind of also shows that you can actually pwn the box without getting a single shell on the box. You can just use this vulnerability here. So what am I doing? Yeah, I'm copying that file to my SMB share. Okay, perfect. Let's do that. And now if I have a look at, yep, it's there. Perfect. System cannot find the file specified. Yeah, of course. It's like, I'm sure if you look at like most APTs in like when they're hacking into stuff, probably 50% of what you're seeing is typos.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got the SAM and the system locally. We should have them both. Yep, cool. So let's use.
Hey, Ian.
Yeah.
Please, what do you explain the line with the registry thing? What have we done this line?
So what we've done, and I could we could just have executed this in the command shell as well, in that we have here, but we have because we're running a system, what we've done is exported the SAM system registry hives, and now what we're going to do is use secret stump to extract the hashes, the NTLM hashes for all accounts from the hives.
Yeah, thanks.
Cool. No worries.
Perhaps good to explain is that even though we got a shell on the machine, all the places where you normally would find a hash, you found a PS credential, which actually is not the hash, and you cannot actually do anything with it unless you get to a point that you can use them, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Spot on, Aryan. So when you have a PS credential, it uses DP API, and that just means that the user who created the credential is the only one who can actually decrypt it. So even though we're system and we have all this access, we still need some more information, or some, if we still need to be in the context of that user before we can actually use any of them. So we need to be the app user if we want to access their PS credentials. Yeah.
If I may add to that, even more, it needs to be on the same machine. Or that was my experience.
You're absolutely spot on. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not
right.
the machine name that does it, because I tried to rename my VM to it, and it also didn't work.
No, it's definitely machine specific. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, would you explain this part again?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we found was the user on the system, low privileged user, it seems, had a PowerShell credential for the admin, but although we can like read the PowerShell credential, we can't actually decrypt it. So we can't actually access the credential that's contained within it. If we want to do that, we have to become that user. And so currently the idea that we're kind of thinking of is let's extract the SAM and system hives, and maybe we can use a hash and kind of try to become that user, and then we can access the credential that way. That's kind of what my thinking is right now.
Okay.
So all we can do is use a tool like inpackets secretsdump.py. Cool. That's working. So far, the demo gods have been very kind to me. But,
Don't jinx it. Don't jinx it.
yeah. System.
So you have transferred the registry hives, the system hive, and the SAM to your local machine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So you have the SAM and the system. And now you use secrets dump to actually dump out secrets that are stored within a hive.
Yep.
And you can do this because you have both the system and the SAM, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And so I created the config there, which allows anyone to write files to my share, and then just enable the SMB service, transfer the files locally, as you said, and now we can look to extract the secrets from them, the NTLM hashes. So here I specify local because instead of using secrets dump against the DC, we're using local system and SAM files. And so that's great. We've got some hashes there. But if we recall from looking at the nmap scan, which I've removed, of course I have, then 445 wasn't available, so it's not like we can use PSExec to pass the hash or anything like that, or SMB exec. So instead, let's
It mentioned the Win Remote port on the nmap scan.
yes, indeed. So with let's have a look at Evil WinRM. Does it accept hashes?
I think normally.
You can pass a hash.
You can.
But I'm not sure if it worked on this box. I tried it, I think.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, there's minus capital H, I believe.
Okay, nice. Well, let's try that then, just quickly. Capital H.
I think you copied the hash for yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
I think that for me it didn't work.
Yeah, the reason that didn't work, and I'm remembering now, is because I set the WinRM service to bind to the local host. So
something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
I checked later. Yeah.
So the listener is bound to 127.0.0.1, but the service, the actual remote management kind of external service is still listening. But it's not possible to do WinRM. So that's why I did that. That was the intention, just because I wanted to enforce a particular path, I guess.
Yes.
Okay. So let's go back to here. and then let's try to crack the hash, because if we think about what services are externally available to us, there is WinRM, but actually no, that doesn't seem to work. We have the web app, which is asking for basic authentication, and the reason we're kind of thinking, let's see if we can crack the password for the app user. Maybe this is the user that we use to access the web app.
I love your thinking.
I would generally just in the hope something pops, but it's much more direct, of course.
Word lists and Rocky.
Rocky.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. It helps if I don't follow my own notes. All right, so it cracked the hash immediately, and so the password for the app user was found to be mesh 5143. So let's try logging into
But Ian,
yes.
It's actually not needed to crack the password, is it? After long time of searching for hidden files, I found the plain text password in a package management directory.
You are absolutely correct. And at the time, it was like, oh, are people going to just find this file and think that that's part of the vector? I'm like, no, that won't happen. But yeah.
Oh, actually, it was very difficult to find the file because it's not on a very common location.
No, exactly.
How did you find it then?
And so,
well done.
Yeah, well done indeed. And so people were like saying, oh, this box is super CTF-y because it's just got like some sort of totally unrealistic file and some sort of, location that you'd never find a file in. And that's totally true, but it's like an unintended. So the reason I put that file there, it's like a startup script, and it's constantly reverting credentials because I thought, hang on a minute, you've got remote command execution of system. I reckon the passwords for the app user and the administrator user are going to be reset regularly. And what's the thing that's like a danger with PowerShell credentials, because effectively they're based on the user's password, and if the password changes for a user, that means you can't access the PowerShell credentials. So I was like, right, so that's a problem. So I need to find a way to revert the credentials every minute or two. And so what I came up with, I should have just used like a scheduled task. But I decided on just this startup script here, which in hindsight, I would have just made the credentials part of the the running command for the scheduled task. But even then, I think probably you could maybe still see the process command lines, but it would be more realistic and kind of regarded as less CTF-y. So I think the reason some people downvoted this is because they assumed that file was actually part of the scenario when it's not.
That taken me a lot of time because from the root I have executed the command, the PowerShell command for get all the child information items.
Yeah.
All the hidden file.
Yeah.
Only the hidden files, because most CTF creators are hidden interesting files.
Yeah.
And I just scrolling.
Yeah, I know. In hindsight, I definitely wouldn't implement that again. But these are things you learn, I guess, as a box creator.
You could have stored them as PS credentials, maybe then.
Yeah.
As in, yeah, it's the same as in what you're going to do a little bit later.
Yeah, for sure. And so this is the device portal here. So this actually exists as some ASPX file, if I recall correctly. It's a really weird kind of implementation of a web server, but it originally had like a big shutdown button, and I was like, oh no, surely that's going to be pressed all the time. So we had to edit that to remove the shutdown button and some other things. I think I can't remember what they were, but yeah. Okay, so we've gained access to the Windows Device Portal app, which looks pretty neat, right? And it tells us the host name and the virtualization technology that's in use. And so we could do a lot of things here. For example, let's This is something I was kind of toying with when I was actually researching this. I was like, oh, I wonder if we can install a malicious cab file, but they have to be signed. And the debug, this allows you to dump any process. So I think I tried to dump LSAS, and it just returned like the normal stuff. You can start this though, so effectively you could start a remote debugging session, which would lock up the remote instance, which is kind of bad news. But I decided that probably most people wouldn't do that.
I think if you actually do that, most people will actually hate the box because it locks up constantly. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and so I was kind of hoping that people wouldn't do that. So lots of apps got here. So it's all quite interesting. You've got like a little file explorer as well. I thought there's a way to get like a screenshot. That's kind of what I'm looking for. Ah, there. So
it's on the homepage.
Yeah, geez, hiding in plain sight. And so this is the actual thing. You know, when you log into the infrastructure and you start configuring it, well, I mean, you'd probably want to do that. Use SSH remotely, because SSH is also available with Windows 10 IoT by default. So it exposes SSH, the Windows Device Portal, and WinRM. So really, it's kind of, it's horribly insecure for something that's got such a large attack surface. And so, yeah, if you actually click on this, the command icon here on the console, you can execute commands, but not. It doesn't have a run as command. Instead, it's got a command which is called run as admin, and that allows by default when you click on the button there for the command, it runs as the default user. But if you type run as admin and then your command, it runs as the administrator actually. Yeah. So anyway, that's kind of what I wanted to show you about that. So if we go to run commands, we don't want to run as the default account, I think. Or do we? Let's see. No. Echo user profile. We could probably just have transferred a 64-bit version of Who Am I onto the box, actually, but and we are, with the app account. Cool. And so kind of the only annoying thing about this is that it doesn't really keep your you have to specify the absolute directory, because it doesn't provide you with any interactive shell, and so it's kind of cheating a little bit, or sort of. So if we look at where are we? There. C users. This is all stuff we've already seen. So not C users, C data. Users, app. Yeah, that's right. Just copy that. Yeah, so this is what we saw before. So it's possible for us easily to prepare a one-liner to just decrypt the credential for user.txt. So let's put that in there. Of course, each time you invoke the command, it's a separate instance, and so we need a one-liner like this. Otherwise, it won't work.
I think I did it just with I had a shell on the box as the app user.
As the app user, yeah. So we could actually use our
way easier.
Yeah, it's way easier, and so we could actually invoke a netcat command right now. So let's just do that actually.
We still have the netcat on the machine, right?
We do.
Exactly.
We do.
That's
We
how
do.
I did it. Invoke netcat, and then you're the app user with the normal shell.
Okay, so.
Oh, you were already.
No, I was just in the directory. Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
So let's do that, shall we? Whoops. No, that's not where I was. Yeah. 14.3. Access is denied. Okay, so because we transferred it as system to C Windows temp. That's so we could actually just reset the permissions on that.
It shouldn't matter. Strange.
It's because system has full control, but if we look at well, we've lost our shell now there, but so that's okay. But we've got the yeah. Anyway, let's try and get the password next. So we'll leave that as an exercise to you guys following along to get the shell anyway. But let's get the shell from the credential, the password from the credential. Sorry. Okay, so we have that administrator and Internet of Things.
That took me so long to get those passwords. Unbelievable.
The thing is, I didn't design this to be a pain, right? But I think the way I designed it, like some people found a more intuitive path, which was actually more difficult, and so that's why I rated the machine as easy, because like, okay, it's kind of easy, right? But actually, it was more medium.
Yeah, it took me days trying on my own VM and trying everything.
Yeah. All right.
So in the end, I enjoyed the box a lot because
Oh, awesome! Thank you. That means a lot. So let's put in that, and it should prompt again. Okay, super. So you see here, in some ways, it's actually easier just using the web app.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Maybe I didn't copy that correctly. Okay, let's try again.
I did learn a lot because I really need to dig into how do those PS credentials work and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's
really
kind of
good to learn.
Yeah, it's something we've
I like
featured on many boxes before, I guess, but it's still good to have them periodically, I think, just because, and that's kind of why I wanted it as like an easy box, because I think if you're kind of just starting out on Hack the Box, or maybe you've come from development or something like that, then maybe you don't know about that. So I just thought it's something interesting. Let me go to run the command again. No? Yes. Okay. And so, yeah, the very last thing that we do, we have a root.txt, which is also cheekily a PowerShell credential. So, I mean, arguably, you could say, okay, this box uses way too much PowerShell credentials. One thing, I agree with you. But second thing, it's kind of, I feel like I kind of had to do it because of the vulnerability running a system. And so, yeah, there we go. That's the root.txt, and that's the box.
Nice.
Yeah, I remember the familiarity with this area.
Yeah.
Especially if you're going through that web interface, it's like searching for your first intuition is to search for like a vulnerability or something
Yeah.
like that you can leverage, and then having the minimal effort of just using that online console. It is once you get it, you go like right. Spend way too much time here.
Yeah. I think if you did it all with command line, it's totally possible as well. But it certainly makes it a lot easier. So yeah.
Yeah, I did it all from a remote shell, but yeah, and then you had those XML files there with flag in it. I was like, ah,
yeah,
I loved it.
Cool. Well, if you guys have any questions, I'm happy to answer anything on that.
I think we should let people catch up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some people are following along, and well, they will actually go to the point where they're in the interface now, probably. So maybe you can share the
yes
one-liners that you use to decode the PS credential.
Yeah.
Most people will search for that.
Absolutely, good shout. I'll do that now. That's the use of text. I'll just paste one, and then you can you can just modify it.
That's exercise.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, there we go.
Maybe one question for me. Could you maybe like give kind of a summary with like high level steps what have been done, like really summarize? Doesn't have to be like detailed.
Yeah, sure. From what point? Right from the beginning, or like from where we just kind of left off with the current bit from getting a foothold.
From the beginning, if that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm able to follow along everything.
No props. I'll try my best to summarize that in a good way. And so we found that the box was running Windows IoT, and the default password for the Windows device portal didn't work. So we thought, okay, let's see if there's remote command execution vulnerability. Like Arjen says, it's kind of like one of the first things you kind of think of. And that revealed RAT, a remote access tool that someone had developed for it. And we used that to validate the vulnerability, and we saw that it was running as system. So at this point, we think, okay, that's great. We actually got a shell after using the 64-bit version of Netcat, and then found that there were these PowerShell credentials, which, of course, if as we're not running as app or administrator, we're running a system, so we can't access them. So we thought, okay, how can we access them? We need a password because the hash didn't work for WinRM, and SSH isn't available in this box. I've disabled the service. So okay, we needed the hash, so we decided to export the system and SAM hives, and then extract the secrets from them. Once we had the NTLM hashes, normally it's kind of game over, and you can use those hashes as like a password equivalent. But on this box, you have to crack the hash in like an extra step. We got the password for the app user, logged into the portal, and we're able to execute commands now in their context. We decrypted the PowerShell credential for the admin user. So the app user, for some reason, maybe an admin decided they logged in as the app user, and the run as command isn't there. I don't know. It's plausible that something like that may happen, but maybe not so much on an IoT box, I guess. And so anyway, we got the password for the admin and just logged into the portal as them again, and kind of repeated the process. So there was another criticism, I guess, from some people was that actually root was a bit too similar to user, and I totally take that feedback as well. I think that is valid feedback, and yeah, probably in hindsight, I probably wouldn't have implemented that either, the way it was. So I hope that kind of gives a good summary. If you have any kind of any questions about the summary or anything else, as soon as you're kind of ready with the machine, just shout. I'll be hanging around anyway.
Yes, thanks for the explanation. I think in general I'm fine. There are still some things like SAM hives which I don't have experience with and I don't completely understand, but that's something I can also look up myself. I think in general I have a good idea of what has been done. I noted it down actually, so thanks for the explanation.
Yeah, no worries.
And exporting hives is a very well-known technique, so it is well worth to look into that.
Yes, I definitely will. Thanks.
I'm curious, Ian, if say there's a lot of hindsight, also based on criticism or remarks people make about the book. So I'm curious about two things. One, what is the most curious or unintended way that the box was owned that you know of? And two, if you had a chance, what would you now change about the box that you think deserves some more attention? Or
yeah, interesting. So I think some people just they kind of struggled to get the password for the app account, and so they did have to use the web app for there. I did want to showcase the web app because I thought it was a very interesting aspect of Windows IoT. I also wanted to kind of introduce this OS to the platform also because the file structure was a lot different, and although file structure isn't the most interesting thing in itself, I thought, well, it's just something interesting to know that this OS out there is structured in this different way. And I'm not really aware of any real unintended solutions that are kind of faster than this. I mean, you already get remote command execution as system, so I think, yeah. Apart from using like the r.bat, which is like the refresh script to maintain the scenario, a lot of people found that and thought that was part of the box and was like, hey, this is really CTF-y. And yeah. I totally see that point.
Yeah, but that happens sometimes. It was also in another box where it was somewhere hidden in a backup file, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it is a CTF platform, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so what things would I change, I guess? Well, yeah, I definitely look to make root more interesting because user to root were both PowerShell credentials, and yeah, that's fine if you're kind of learning about this stuff, and it might actually be quite interesting. But if you already know about PowerShell credentials, maybe it's kind of not so interesting. So I'd probably look to add a bit of variety. I'd probably keep the PowerShell credential for user, and then I'd maybe look to do a bit more research. Maybe create like an app on the like a universal app for Windows IoT, and maybe just have some light reversing to get some credentials from it or something for root. That might have been a slightly more different and more interesting approach. And the other thing I'd change is the revert script. I'd totally get rid of the r.bat and just implement that in the scheduled task directly.
I also have a question for you, Ian. Without giving anything away, are you working on a new box?
I have a couple. I have one that's kind of ready to be released whenever, and then I have a couple in in development as well.
Oh, I see. I see Spectra. Oh yeah, I see it now. Yeah.
Yep.
Can we get a hint or spoiler?
I can't. I've learned my lesson from last time.
You need to get the root flag. Is that enough?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Try harder.
Yeah.
Thanks, that will help. I'll write it up in my notes.
Oh, well, it's going to be.
I think knowing it will have a little twist.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's easy, but it's actually like it's not easy in the same way that Omni is easy. It's like actually easy. Yeah.
Okay, so it's easy, but it's not actually easy in the same way.
Like it's not medium.
That's clear.
It's more like an easy machine.
What is
Yeah.
this? What was it? Laboratory was also fun. and Ian, by the way, let people complain. I mean, people are now complaining that Laboratory and what is it, Luan, or that they have a bit of the same exploit. People always will complain.
Yeah.
I always like your box. If I see that you made a box, I immediately try it.
Yeah.
If I see that Egotistical made a box, I think twice before.
I think to be honest, he's made some really good boxes, and yeah, I think he's made some good ones too. To be honest, I really like the ones that QTC has made. Some of those are my favorite, but there's so many awesome machine makers from the community, and also now with Hack the Box, we're kind of spoilt for choice.
Yeah.
Right.
Now I talked to Egotistical as well about the trouble of making a good box.
Yeah.
Right, making a good challenge. It is extremely hard to make something that works as you intend, does not have too many different unintended ways, and is also to do. Because what you said in the box, the root and the user are basically the same approach.
Yeah.
Right, you just switch user. And then you do the same thing, only as an administrator. So once you have the box on a user level, the step to root is relatively easy.
Yeah, it's trivial, exactly.
But when you're starting out and figure out a way to actually make an interesting box, it becomes really difficult.
Yeah.
Once you are a user to something that you can implement without being overly constructed.
Yeah.
To be a natural fit in this scenario.
Yeah, that's absolutely right, and it is actually. A lot of people find it's actually harder to make an easy box because, we prefer machines that have unique vectors. They showcase something new, and if it's an easy machine, it's sometimes a little bit harder to do that because a lot of the common or kind of easy footholds vectors for foothold and prevesc or lateral movement are already quite well known, and so yeah, that's a challenge, is making a good easy box that still teaches something.
Yeah. And your next box will also be an easy box. So why do you choose to make easy boxes?
I love to do research as well. So I like to do medium and hard as well. But I really like the idea of new people starting out in the industry, and I kind of just want to make some stuff that is playable by newcomers and more experienced people alike, to be honest.
I just think that every easy box is easy.
No. Of course, no. I don't know.
It was very difficult. The foothold form for me. That takes me more than 5 or 6 hours to get the first shell on the machine.
Nice. Yeah, do you think that's a long time for that particular machine?
It kind of depends. It varies. So if a machine is easy, and then in hindsight it gets rated as more difficult. Yeah, I think with some of our machines they've been rated maybe a bit more difficult than they were released as, and so this is feedback that we do take into account.
Does anybody have any questions about Omni at this point?
Why do you have 23 spreadsheets open in row?
That's not a question about Omni.
Have you actually counted it? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4.
I would not be surprised that he actually counted it.
I think he's right, you know.
Just a public service announcement. I'm going to stop the YouTube feed as we're no longer actually.
I have one question though.
About Omnibox. And go ahead with your question.
A question more, or
you can have all the questions you want.
okay.